I was 22 and living on my own for the first time when this happened. It was in the mid-90s. I'd just gotten off work around 11 p.m. To reach my apartment building, I could either walk on the sidewalk, lit with street lamps and decently trafficked, or cut across the communal garden, pitch black, set back from the street. I saved about 1 whole minute of walking time by cutting through the communal garden. But being young and stupid, a lot of times I took the shortcut. That night, I got that weird feeling to not take the shortcut. I kept to the sidewalk, but there's no one else around. When I got past the garden, all of a sudden, this large man pops up from its exit path. There was no way he could have been in front of me, or just behind me as I was walking. I would have noticed him. The only logical explanation was he had been hiding in the pitch black garden. Was he a drunk who had just been sleeping it off? No, my body was screaming at me to get the hell out of there. I began walking faster. My dad had taught me to always carry my keys in my fist, with a key pointed out in case I needed to punch someone. So I had that. But I'm also 5'4" and probably weighed about 110 pounds. This guy was tall and big. My only chance was to outpace him. I'm speed walking at this point, and I feel him matching my pace, getting closer. He's breathing heavily. I feel this angry energy coming off of him, but my apartment building is right there, so I put on a burst of speed. When I reach the entrance, 2 people are leaving and hold the door for me, and him. I don't know why I didn't tell them I thought this guy was following me. My mind froze, and I was just trying to get inside my apartment. Plus, I was still trying to rationalize it. Maybe he was visiting someone in the building. Maybe it was all just a coincidence. Don't be paranoid. Besides, it took only a couple seconds for them to be out the door. I had missed my chance. I'm climbing the stairs as fast as I can. It's a 3-story building, and I live on the 3rd floor. He's climbing the stairs too, still right behind me. I get to my floor, which has 4 apartments on the right side, where I live, and 4 on the left. I pass by apartments 1 and 2. He's still right behind me. I stop at apartment 3, where I live, and he stops in front of apartment 4, where I know he doesn't live. He hasn't said anything, just breathing hard, and I think there's no way I'm going to open my apartment door and have him push me inside and rape me, or worse. He also hasn't knocked on the door of apartment 4. Worth noting is that the apartments are U-shaped, with mine and my neighbor's door being very close together. So I bang my own apartment door as loud as I can, but yell my neighbor's name. "Hey, Kevin, let me in!" Not his real name. This startles the guy, even more so when my own apartment door doesn't open. But Kevin does. Kevin sees the guy standing right in front of his door and asks what he wants. The guy starts mumbling something about the wrong apartment, but I have my own door open so fast that I'm inside my place in a flash. Locking the door behind me, I grab my cordless phone to call the police, but I hear Kevin through the door, telling this guy he needs to leave. The guy does. Kevin knocks on my door, asks if I'm okay. I thank him, say that I am, but inside I'm still frozen. Adrenaline pumping, scared. I thank him again, and tell him to have a good night. Lock my door again. I have my phone in my hand, ready to call the police, but I start trying to rationalize it again. What exactly happened? A guy followed me home, but then said he had the wrong apartment. Are the cops going to care about something minor like that? I try to calm myself down, but I'm also berating myself. Why didn't I run the instant I felt him following me? Why didn't I tell the people we passed when the front door opened that I thought I was being chased? Worse, why didn't I tell Kevin that the second he opened the door and saved me? He could have let me inside his apartment, and we could have called the cops together. But because of my stupidity, everything felt so ambiguous, and I was questioning myself. A couple of weeks later, I'm visiting my grandparents, and my grandfather is reading the paper. He tells me that a woman was raped in the apartment building across the street from mine. It's the same guy. He had multiple convictions for sexual assault, and had recently been released on parole. Hello, this is my first Reddit post ever, so bear with me as I try to navigate through what happened. Also, apologies in advance if this long-winded or confusing. Writing is not my strong suit. I'm also not sure if this is the right place to post this. If so, please do tell me. The people in this story are me, a family of 4 consisting of a mother, father, toddler, and baby, and of course our guest of honor, the creep. For context, I'm a 17-year-old female. I was born and raised in Canada with a pretty sheltered life as my mother's very overprotective. I read a lot on this subreddit, so I'm no way naive or unaware of how to deal with the threat, but up until this point, I have never dealt with harassment before. For the summer, I'm visiting my grandmother in Italy. This is my first time leaving Canada, since she works during the weekdays. I travel about on my own around Italy. For this story, I took a ferry to Ischia, a small island in Napoli, to tour around. When I first arrived on the island, I made the plan to head to a small scenic park, not too far from the port, so I can plan my day. It was around 3 p.m. when I was at the park. Now the park itself made its way into a semi-forested area. The pathways were covered by trees and bushes alike, so it's easy to get lost in there, at least for me. It was also pretty desolate at the time, and gone from the public eye. I was sitting on the bench next to a playground for children, decked out with swings and slides. There was a family, a little away from me, playing at the playground. The playground resides in a little circle-like clearing in the park. On opposite sides of the clearing are the pathways that take you around the park. The paths have trees making a tunnel-like path, so it can be hard to see down it unless you are directly in front of it. From where I was sitting on the bench, which was near the north pathway, I could directly see down the south pathway. Now I was sitting at this bench for a while, mind you, as Italy is pretty hot, and I'm not used to the heat. My head was down looking at my phone, so I wasn't exactly paying attention to the outside world. But I would look up periodically to watch the family play. It was around now 4 p.m., which was nearing when I had to leave to catch my ferry back. As I was about to pack up, I look up from my phone and see a guy standing in the path across from me, the south pathway. Now I wear glasses, my eyesight isn't that good, so I couldn't really make out what this guy was standing there for at first glance. I also didn't want it to be known that I had my eyes on him, so I would try to get a better look from my peripherals. After a minute of watching this guy and trying to figure out why he was staring at me, I come to a horrifying conclusion. To put it lightly, this guy was jacking off in public while watching me. It was light out, and a literal fucking family was not even 10 feet away from me. This was the first time I've ever experienced anything like this, so I was scared shitless. Let me make myself clear. I look like a teenager. I have acne and a baby face, so it's very clear that I'm underage. As I was sitting there panicking about what to do, I see this guy move side to side on the path to get a better look at me. The creep looked unassuming, with some gray basketball shorts, a black graphic tee, and a balding head. From what I could tell, he was around his early 30s. I don't speak much Italian, and with how frazzled I was from this all, I could not utter a cohesive sentence. After sitting on the bench for another minute, trying to calm down and think clearly, I pulled out my translator app and typed in a message to translate to Italian. Now, to not alert this creep that I knew what he was doing, I stood up casually and began to make my way to the mother of the family, who was with her young baby at the time. The father and the toddler, I believe, were playing off a little farther in the trees, as I could not see them. While shaking with nerves, I approached the mother and held up my phone with the message on it. Without a word. Now from where the mother was, you could not see down the path, so she was none the wiser about what was happening. Roughly, my translated message went along the line of, "Hello, sorry I do not speak much Italian, but I am in need of help. There's a creepy guy in the path over there watching me, and I'm scared." Now I know I probably should have made my situation more clear in the message, but I was freaking out, and I didn't know how well my English would translate into Italian, so I kept it short. After the mother read the message, she got a concerned look on her face and asked me to show her where the guy was. Now we walk like 5 feet over to where the path begins, to find the fucker is gone. I assume he saw me walking towards the mother. Thankfully, I came to find out the mother speaks a little English, so I was able to communicate roughly what the creep was doing. Since she was with a baby, I didn't want her to go after the creep, but she was mad enough to attempt. Eventually, she told me her husband would be back soon, and he spoke more fluently. Once he came back, I re-explained what happened and asked if I could follow them out of the park to a public area so I would not be left alone and vulnerable. While they were packing up their belongings, I called my godmother and gave her a brief rundown of the situation, and that I'll be making my way back to the ferry. Now I would love to say this is where the tale ends, without any more troubles, but sadly that was not how it went. After me and the family left the playground area, we made our way to the opposite path from where the creep was, to where I assumed was the exit to the park and to the main road. While walking, the mother tried to comfort me, assuring the guy wouldn't follow me, as he left as soon as he got a clue that I caught on. I thought differently, as I could see this guy very clearly from where I was sitting, and he was not subtle about his staring. After walking a bit more throughout the path to the exit, I spot a familiar looking man walking past to the playground. Once I made eye contact with him, I immediately knew it was the creep from before, walking casually like nothing was wrong. Once he spotted me walking with the family, he quickly made a turn onto a path that diverged from the main one. This creep was circling back to find me, assuming that I stayed at the playground or was walking alone to the exit. I lean over to the mother and quickly tell her that it was the same guy. Unfortunately, the path the guy took to avoid us was the same one we needed to take to get to the exit. The dumb fucking creep cornered himself, without any way to leave, except to pass us by. The father at that point had the baby in his arms, and the toddler following closely behind him. The mother in a rage followed shortly after the creep, cussing him out in a mix of English, Italian, and Spanish. As I come to find out, they were visiting from Mexico. This creep walks sheepishly off, with his head tucked down, pretending he could not hear the lady yelling at him. Finally, after the angry mother stopped following the man, we made it to the exit of the park. I thanked them profusely, and bid my farewells, and made my way down to the port. That family saved me from a dangerous situation, and I could not be more thankful for their comfort and protection. I often think about what could have happened had I left the park on my own, knowing this guy would have circled back for me. So for my first sexual harassment experience, I give the rating a negative 1 out of 5 stars. Would not recommend. So to the creepy guy in the park, let's not meet ever again. So to start this off, I was watching YouTube videos about this subreddit, and I realized that I have a perfect story for it. So this happened about a week ago. So I had biked to school with my best friend. We were going to stay after school to work on a project together. Anyways, so it worked out. On our bike ride home from school, we decided not to go straight home, and that we wanted to go on a small bike ride down a path by the park that would lead us back to my house anyways. When we were unchaining our bikes from the bike racks, I noticed a red Dodge Dakota across from the school. Just an FYI, we live in a pretty small town, so most of the kids who get picked up, we know of what cars they get into, and what cars hang around the school at pickup time, as well as what cars the teachers and students own that drive themselves to school, or at least somewhat of an idea. But I usually didn't see that one, and it was probably like an hour and a half past the time school got out. But it could have been someone's relative picking them up, or whatever, so I really didn't think much of that. We started biking towards our path, and after about 5 minutes, my friend told me the red truck was driving on the road next to the sidewalk we were biking on, but it was a little behind us. I told her that's probably fine, and a coincidence, and that they were probably going home or live around here, so we kept going. But he didn't stop. After 10 minutes of him still following us, I started to get a little concerned. We ended up continuing until we got to a gas station, because then at least there would be people around, and less of a chance of something happening. So we parked our bikes and went in. We grabbed drinks and snacks to not make it look odd that we were in there. But while we were in there, I called my brother to come get us, and that there was someone following us. He told us he'd be right there, and just to stay inside. So we did. We paid for our snacks, and told the cashier about it. and she let us just sit there until my brother came. My brother pulled in, so we walked out to get our bikes. When we couldn't find them, we looked around and saw the red truck pulled behind the gas station, with our bikes right next to it. The man that was driving it was looking right at us. We went and told my brother. He said forget about the bikes and get in the car, so we did. My brother got out of the car and went into the gas station to get the employee, and while he was doing that, the man sped off out the back parking lot of the gas station. When my brother came out, he said that the gas station worker was going to check back the cameras and see if she can get a license plate to give to the police, and that my brother gave her a mom's information for any updates. We both made it home safe. I'll keep you all updated when we find out more. Also, I'm sorry if there is grammar mistakes. I'm not a professional writer. LOL. Thanks everyone for listening. My favorite time of the year is coming up, and that is Halloween. I hope you guys are excited for it. I know I am. I may be too old to go out, but I love the events and the atmosphere. It just makes me happier. And as always, stay depraved.